So now I'm going to introduce you to our guest speaker today, the renowned researcher, Professor Helen Bourke-Taylor from Monash University. Helen is going to introduce you to the groundbreaking Healthy Mothers, Healthy Families program and also share some valuable insights about how mothers can manage stress and the transformative power of micro breaks. Welcome, Helen. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Bree. I'm very excited to be here, and I appreciate your acknowledgement of country. And I come today from Bunurong country, and I'd like to pay my respects to past, present, and future leaders, and welcome everyone today to the webinar. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Well, let's get straight into it. I first want to know what inspired you to develop Healthy Mothers, Healthy Families program, and what are some of those key observations that led to you focusing on supporting mothers in particular?
Yes. Well, thanks, Bree. So I'm an occupational therapist by background. I'm a professor of occupational therapy, and I started my career working with children and families. And I noticed very early, although it was only, I was going to make a joke about my age, but obviously I've been an OT for a really long time. I think I started practicing in 1990, but I noticed the strength of mothers, but also the difficulty of the role when, families are impacted by childhood disability and chronic conditions that, the stress on mothers is much higher, the number of duties and responsibilities with the child and in the child's absence and other children in the family is actually really quite high, and it's quite different to other mothers and also fathers, both in the same family and then outside. So working at Children's Hospital here in Melbourne, and I worked in Chicago in a children's hospital there and various capacities and schools, I was mostly talking to mothers. As mothers listening are probably mostly talking to the OTs and speech pathologists and physios and psychologists their children may see, or the teachers. So it's actually 20 years ago this year that I started research into mothers, because when I was working in the United States, I felt that mothers were more empowered. There's the Americans with Disabilities Act, and then I came back to Australia and started a PhD because in the state where I lived, there was only 2 OTs in schools in the whole state. And I was kind of thought that was just crazy. Like, where is the team around the child here? And the mother was the one stepping up. So I have a passion for supporting mothers, and I believe that they're very important in all the outcomes for families.
Well, we're so glad that you've had that passion because the program is amazing. You did mention that mothers of children with higher care needs experience stress differently to other women. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. So there's just a plethora of research. There are research papers literally coming out my ears right now. So everything I share with you is research-based. It's evidence-informed. And so across the world, internationally, we do know that mothers who have a child with additional care needs, disabilities, developmental difference, chronic medical condition, experience stress at higher rates. And that stress is more chronic. So it means that it's a bit unrelenting. It'll go on for longer and higher rates. And so the studies around mothers are asking mothers how stressed they're feeling, comparing them to other mothers or other women, and seeing really significant differences, but also research that shows that high stress women is what they're actually titled in some research. So great to be a high stress woman as opposed to a low stress woman, which I don't know what makes you a low stress woman either, but so it'd be your rating about your stress and your life situation. But there's evidence that there's cellular aging up to 10 years older than other women, which is quite astounding. And this is at a cellular level. So there are 2 things: that it's chronic, that it can exacerbate early in cellular aging. Other aspects with the stress that's different is that many mothers will self-identify as having traumas, whether that's at the time of diagnosis or medical issues. The thing with trauma is that it's self-described. So there's no test to say, well, that was a traumatic event. It's more, it felt traumatic for me. And if you have that, then you can be triggered by other things that just come in unexpectedly. Or you can anticipate the trigger. Like if it's something, I think I've mentioned in many times about a mum that I was talking to whose child wanted sausages at 4 o'clock every day, fried sausages at 4 o'clock. And so she would anticipate the stress of trying to get home in time for that, for her child, to prevent, her child not being happy. So that's sort of anticipatory stress. And then the last thing I want to say about the stress of mothers is that mothers tend to be very highly productive. We're multitasking all the time. And I want you to think about, there's this way of enfolding the activities in our day where we do not one thing at a time. Oh, I'll double book myself. Are you kidding me? I'm going to quadruple book myself. I've got my other child with a broken ankle, Bree. I've got my other child who's, I've got to work out how to get the broken wheelchair collapsed into the back of the car today. I'm going to talk to the school principal about blah, blah. And, my bank, I haven't paid the MasterCard or something. So women will tend to multitask. And to me, it's like thinking of a curtain, like, like those S curtains, and they're so, what are those curtains called? Do you know, Bree?
Yeah,
It's really bunched
don't know
up.
what they're called.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so over time, if you pulled out that fabric, it's so long, all the things that you're doing, that, so women tend to multitask more and fold many things in. If we unfold what we're doing in any period, 6-hour period, we're doing probably way too much. So I think that also characterizes mothers of children with additional care needs, is they do just probably too much and an awful lot. Yeah, so it's stressful.
It is. And I think everything that you just said, I was just thinking about my last week with my daughter breaking her ankle. We had a school meeting on the morning that she broke her ankle, and I'm just thinking, I actually anticipate all the emails. And as soon as I turn my computer on, it's causing me stress because I know I haven't responded to the 7 emails from that meeting. Yes, there's so much going on. Please give us some advice for anyone
Yes.
listening and me. How can we reduce that stress?
Yes. So there's many ways to reduce stress. And what I want to say here is, whilst I've just recognized and acknowledged that it is a more stressful life role, mothers are very successful at improving their own situation. But it takes time, and it takes support, the need for support, and change to habits. So even deciding not to multitask will take time. You need to leave space in your day for the unexpected. And some mothers say that they actually need to leave all day for the unexpected because they might wait for the school to call or wait for something. But yeah, the unexpected is where you realize, oh, wow, my daughter breaking her ankle is probably the thing that's made me realize I'm enfolding too much. My curtain is way too gathered. Let's stop that. So the first thing to reduce stress is actually to pay attention to yourself. Is my voice feeling strained? Am I thirsty? Am I sweating? Am I actually feeling nervous? Am I shaking? Am I feeling too fatigued? I can't actually get off this chair. Like, actually pay attention to yourself. We will neglect ourselves and just get on with what has to be done if anyone will let us. You really need to pay attention to yourself. So once you're paying attention to yourself and you're noticing and you're acknowledging that actually you are doing more than other people probably, I think for today we're just going to talk about a couple of different things you can do. And one of those is appreciating the micro moments in life, which are the glimmers. Another is the micro breaks, which we'll talk about shortly. And then there's also the macro break. So the macro break is the holiday, or, the time when you can actually switch off and shut down, whether you're actually doing that with a computer or not, but actually get a break. But the two things today we were going to talk about were the former. So, yeah.
I love the term micro breaks. I instantly felt that sounds doable.
Yes.
But for many parents, they might be thinking, I barely have time to breathe.
Yes.
What's a micro break?
Yes. So if you're feeling like you barely have time to breathe, There's a lot of women in that situation. It's not, it's really common. But the message is that you actually need to breathe, that you're not a robot, you're a biological being and you must look after yourself. So, so micro breaks are actually recovery periods. So usually up to about 10 minutes that you can break the cycle of chronic stress, because what's happening with chronic stress is that it's releasing all those stress hormones. They're swirling around our body, adrenaline. They're making us feel fatigued. They're making us more reactive to situations, less cognitively aware of what we're doing. So we'll tend to fall back on a solution rather than thinking, well, what is happening here and what could I do that would be a more appropriate response? So we do all sorts of things because we're living in a chronic stress situation. So micro breaks stop the accumulation of that stress across a day. So, so all the research on micro breaks actually comes from investigating and researching paid workers who are in high outcome, pressured roles, which is what a mum. Hey,
That's exactly like my life.
there you go. Yeah. So, you know, I think that says something, that the research that someone like me has looked at after talking to many mums, like, you know, there's 20 years of talking to mums such as Bree, deliver healthy mothers, healthy families. The role can be like a really high performing job. It is a high performing job, but you're doing it on the extra, with the extra stressor of love, joy, family, hope, all these other things go with it. But so micro breaks really actually reduce the stress hormones. They reduce fatigue and improve vigor afterwards. They improve clarity, thought clarity. So a lot of mothers will say they feel a sense of cognitive overload. You know, I'm kind of overwhelmed and start to feel, am I not understanding? Well, you're overloaded. Take a break. So micro breaks, finding places in your day to put a micro break in there. There's research that they can be as short as sort of 5 minutes, but just a 5 to 10 minute micro break. And during that time, what am I going to do with my time? Well, if you've been really sedentary, you might make it a physical micro break where you might stand and move around. If you know, you've been thinking a lot, you might make it more of a sensory micro break where you're listening to music or you know, smelling herbal tea or something like that. So you've got to think about, what do I need in my day at that point in time to get a micro break, because the point of the micro break is to break that chronic cycle that you're living through on a daily basis.
I feel like I'm nodding, and I wish I could see everybody watching at the moment, because I feel like everyone's just nodding, going, that sounds like me.
Yeah. Yes.
I guess, how do we help mums overcome that initial resistance to taking breaks, even if they are micro ones?
Yeah, so I'm going to suggest that we start with a micro moment then. So a micro moment, or a glimmer, it's actually called a glimmer. So it's a researched phenomenon where we spend our time looking for a joy in a moment. So we might, you know, you go into the principal's office for another discussion, you notice a beautiful photograph on the wall of a beach, and you actually tune yourself in to taking a moment to appreciate that picture. So glimmers are looking for the small things in our day, even right now. If you know, whatever room you're in, I can see a painting my son did in year 9 on the wall. It makes me feel quite happy. You know, look for those moments because they bring joy, they reduce stress, they do a lot for us emotionally and for our mood. So start doing that. And I think, you know, the old saying, the proof is in the pudding. If you start to feel better, then that gets you into a positive cycle of, I need to look for more of those moments. So I think that would be the first thing, is just start with a micro break. glimmers also help with sort of combating triggers. So and just the same example there, like going into a principal's office or somebody, you know, who you associate with something, or maybe it's, I don't know, another profession. It could be an OT. I don't know who it is, but you know, looking for a glimmer to offset the triggering that can do for you, so that you don't get into a spiral. So those immediate things are something that anyone can really do. But if you're finding that you're resistant to that, and you're listening to me, or you know a friend who's really resistant to suggestions and ways to change behavior, that's also something to look at. Because a lot of mothers say they feel, you know, resentment around their situation or something. And so resentment can be a barrier to actually helping yourself. So if you have trouble just implementing glimmers, thinking about, you know, why is it that I'm resisting? You know, why am I sabotaging my own happiness and my own health here? And sometimes it can take, you know, attending the workshop, the Healthy Mothers, Healthy Families workshop, going on the website, seeing a psychologist, spending time with a great mate. Many things we can do to sort of shift our perspective, and they're important things to do.
They absolutely are. And you have just shared some examples about how stress reduction techniques can make a difference. But what's the smallest change you've witnessed create the biggest impact?
I think that look, it's very hard for me to choose one, Brie, because I'm really greedy and I want to say, look, I can
Share them
think of
all.
25 things that mothers do more that help themselves. But besides just actually feeling validated, because that's a really big thing. Like if you sort of say, look, and I've heard this is a direct quote from a mother, like it's, you know, I'm not crazy, I'm not cuckoo, I'm doing what many other mothers do, and then moving to empowerment. I think that's really important. But one single thing I think you can do is recognize that others can help you, and reaching out, because you know, just that whole enfolding things and doing everything is something that is actually a choice. So bringing in help, whether that's whatever capacity that is really important to free up your time so that you can prioritize yourself. But so I think for today, I'm thinking reaching out and allowing others to help you and support you is just so important.
Yeah, I've definitely called in the cavalry in the last week. I've had my mother-in-law come down. Just, you know, navigating two children with mobility challenges at the moment is a lot. Um, the Healthy Mothers, Healthy Families program has helped thousands of mothers, including myself. But what are some of the most common transformations you see in participants over the course of the program?
Yeah, I think that understanding that being able to participate in health promoting activities yourself is really important, and that is transforming. So if we just think about all, you know, yourself, like, and we want to change our behavior, we want to feel better, we want to feel more vital, we want to be able to walk without puffing, we want to be able to see our friends without feeling nervous. You know, we want to feel better, and so changing our own health behavior is quite difficult. So so the power of the group, the Healthy Mums group, and learning from other mothers and watching other mothers grow and relating to them is very helpful for mothers. But with health promoting behaviors, so what can I do on a daily basis? Well, there's a key set of activities that you can do on a daily or weekly basis. And these are things like spend time with supportive others, you know, in physically active recreational pursuits, or just gentle, quiet pursuits. Actually scheduling healthy behaviors for yourself, like scheduling the micro breaks in your day and in your week, and then also pursuing health professionals when you need them. So not putting things off until their sort of crisis point, but making an appointment for yourself and seeking the help and finding the right person for you to help. So in the program, all aspects that I've just discussed there are covered in the program. So the mothers who facilitate the program, who are trained and credentialed, and they're also effective because we've researched their effectiveness, and they're as effective mothers who are facilitating, professional mothers who facilitate, as myself as an OT and a general practitioner. It's effective, but the program will take you through what what you can do to change for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. What surprised you most about how mothers have implemented the strategies from the program in their daily lives?
Well, a couple of things have impressed me. One is that mothers have learned like where to start for themselves. So, for example, if I want to end up going to Pilates, I actually set myself the task, and you can hear this on a video on the website, of actually locating Pilates studios around me first. And I sort of sit with that step. And then the next step for myself is a bit more. So mother's capacity to sort of take the small chunks, which I think you learn through bringing up your children, that it's actually small steps that children take. And so doing that as well. And that's a sort of a compassionate way to help yourself as well, because you're not sort of setting the bar so high that you can't jump over it first off. You just set little ones and you pull in help and support and you take breaks. And so I think that comes, I just want to say, what impresses me about mums is, because none of this is rocket science, everyone is capable of this. But when we get ourselves into such a stressed state, it's really hard to problem solve and use our best intellectual capacity because we're sort of more in a reactive place. And our brain starts to like this loop of overwhelmness, resistance to change, like we start to like it. So when you give yourself a break and you take a breather, you think a bit more clearly, and then mothers are implementing changes for themselves as successfully as they do with their own children. They have all the skills. So we're sort of, so I could talk all day, but I better stop.
I know as you're talking, I'm thinking of some of the examples just from facilitating that families that mothers have done. And yeah, it really is empowering. And I just love that, that validation that, everybody's going through this, but we can make changes. And I love that small steps because it just has to start small and you just build on that. But for mothers listening to today who are feeling overwhelmed, what would you say is the first small step they could take right now? Obviously, aside from registering for the Healthy Mothers, Healthy Families program.
The first step. Oh gosh, Brie, your questions are way too hard for me. My brain hurts. Hang on a second. What have I written down here for myself? Yes, the first step I think is think about implementing the micro moments and the micro breaks for yourself. Just give yourself a bit of space to think. I sort of noticed a comment there in the chat box, which went away, and I don't read it because I can't think straight when I'm talking and reading. That's one of my limitations. But this idea of this the curtain, the S curtain, and what are you doing in that space of time? Think about that, because men don't think like that. Men think like a blind, okay, like a straight blind. They are much better at singular unitask completion. Do one thing, finish that, do the next thing, finish that, do the next thing, which is less stressful. We're doing lots of things at the same time. This fabric that gets pulled out to see, well, I actually achieved 45 things in the last 2 hours. Well, yeah, that's great, but how stressed are you? Yeah. So I've gone off answering the question, Brie.
That's okay. I will read out that comment though. Taryn has said, thank you for the how gathered is your curtain analogy. It's perfect. I've recently made some changes and having this visual is going to help me to maintain the change. So I like it too. I just want to know what those curtains are called. I don't know the word for them. But what can mothers expect when they join the program?
Yes, so they can expect an evidence-based program that has research supporting the program. And why that's important is that we know that it's effective for mothers that can engage with the program. We know that the facilitators are effective. And I know that it's a very professional presentation with alongside. So they can expect value for the time that they put into attending the program. They can also expect very supportive facilitators, an upbeat and positive atmosphere, because No one wants to be dragged down. We do share the bad news. We do share the research because, being forewarned is being forearmed, or is that I've said it the wrong way around, but you know what I mean?
I
Like, I
get it
think,
right.
yeah, we have to know these things. We have to know what we're vulnerable to as a parent of a child with additional care needs. So you can expect it to be convenient and held online at time of the day that's suitable for you. There's programs in the middle of the day, at the end of the day. There's a website that you can access that has a 10-part online set of modules that I wrote and created, and in my style, I pack it with information. I don't expect everyone reads everything. It's up to you to cherry pick what speaks to you. So if you want to increase physical activity, you'll probably go to the Active Mum module and hear from the physio about ways to manage my pain. So you'll get a professional program. You'll get a program that we evaluate every mum that comes in, as Bree knows, and it's a positive experience. So yes, that's what you'll get.
Yeah, it is. And very validating, especially when you hear other mothers' experience throughout the program, just to know that you're not alone. Last question before we wrap up, but what's one thing you wish every mother knew about taking care of themselves while caring for their family?
One thing that I wish that they knew, and again, I'm very greedy and it's hard for me to think of one thing. Yes, I think that you're a very important person. Mothers are very important people. When you change your health behavior and feel healthier, the research shows your children's life situation improves as well, that they do more things, their quality of life improves. So it won't only improve your life, the whole family seems to go up when the mum goes up in terms of health behavior. So I think that's something to really know. It's not selfish to think about yourself. It'll impact others. Yeah, that'd be my answer there. Seems like I have to be short. So thank
I'm so,
you,
I'm so
Bree.
proud of us, Helen. We've kept time.
Amazing, right on 12:30. I know, and it's hard for
Um,
me to stop talking.
Oh, I know, but we could talk all day about the program. It's so wonderful. But thank you so much, Helen. It's always a pleasure hearing from you. And I know personally I gain some more knowledge every time I hear you speak. For those that are interested in joining the Term 2 workshops, we do actually have 3 groups starting, and I do actually have the links to those. There are 2 evening groups, one's on a Monday night, one's on a Tuesday night. And there is a daytime group starting on a Wednesday. So I'm just going to pop them in the chat for everybody. I'll also send them out when we send the link to the recording. But thank you everyone who is watching live and for those that are going to watch the replay. As I mentioned, in the coming days, you will receive an email which will have a link to the session recording. We'll also include those Term 2 group details and other ways that you can connect with Belongside families. Helen, thank you.
Thank you, Bree. It was
Love
fun.
chatting to you, and I
Thanks
look
everyone for
forward to
coming.
meeting you in person in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, be fun. 2 weeks.
Yeah, and everybody that's watching, I hope to see you online in one of our Belongside Families events in the near future. Thanks, Helen. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Thanks, Bree.